Hi, I'm Luke, video expert of Team 2052. Welcome to the first video in a series of tutorials on how to make videos for First. In this first episode, we're going to be tackling the topic of equipment in video production. But before we get into that, I'd like to give you an introductory sense of what equipment means to the content creator. It's not really about the equipment. It's about the person behind the equipment. It's another way to say this would be it's not about the tool, it's about the person using the tool. And for this reason, this tutorial isn't going to focus on specific models or brands. Instead, it's going to be much more categorical when we talk about the various sorts of equipment that you can be using in your projects. I've narrowed it down for what is needed to create a video. You need a device to film and a device to edit. Everything else is an accessory. A device to film and a device to edit, those are the necessities. This isn't to say that accessories aren't important. In most productions, they are crucial, but they aren't needed to create a good video. There have been really good short films entirely shot and edited completely on the iPhone or other smartphones. For instance, there's one linked in the description and on the screen right now, which you can check out for yourself. Equipment, whatever you have, as long as it shoots video and you can edit the video, that's all that is necessary. So don't let equipment become an excuse for you not pursuing a video production. That being said, I'm going to be covering a myriad of options with equipment in regards to video production in this video, and hopefully it will tell you what you want to use, what you need to use, and how to make it work with whatever budget that you have. Let's get into it. Alright, this is pretty broad. There's a lot of cameras to be working with. You could be using a DSLR, a point and shoot, an action cam, a camcorder, a drone, a 360 camera, or just a phone. Some of those are cheap, some of those are expensive, but they all have their place and play a certain role which they were designed to do. If you're just starting out, you probably want to be saving up for a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. These are the most popular in the video production industry. But in the meantime, if you don't have either of them, I'd recommend using whatever you have at the moment rather than getting an intermediate camera that you're just going to replace later when you can afford a more expensive camera. Now, DSLRs and mirrorless cameras each have their pros and cons that we're not going to get into the specifics in this video because many other videos on YouTube have covered them, and we'll be linking those in the description below. Either way, you probably want a camera that can zoom and switch lenses. First, competitions have a lot of variance within depth of field from up close to far away, so adaptability with your camera is really important. Similarly, you can edit your video on a lot of different devices. You could be using laptops, desktops, smartphones, tablets, a whole myriad of different devices. There are apps for both Apple and Android, for mobile devices and immobile devices like desktops. One of the best free video editing softwares that works with both Windows and Mac is DaVinci Resolve 12. There's a link here and you can find it in the description. DaVinci Resolve by Blackmagic Design, it comes in a free version and a paid version. If you're willing to pay, there's also Adobe Premiere, which comes within the Adobe suites, which is very helpful if you're also doing graphic design work and maybe you want Illustrator, Photoshop, or Lightroom, which are also applications within the Adobe suite. These are really good programs to have for marketing sub-teams. And if you have the funds, most people agree that the cost is very much worth it. Personally, I use Final Cut Pro 10, which is a souped-up version of iMovie, which is Apple's editing software. Now, there are many accessories in video production, and it's unlikely that I'll be able to touch on every single one in this video. But I'm going to do my best to give an adequate explanation for the main ones that you should probably consider using or are the most popular. As touched on earlier, lenses are really important if you want to get a wide variety of shots, as you probably will when you're at a first competition. Now, the lens that came with the camera that you buy usually is the most adaptable or all-purpose. For instance, the lens that I'm currently using right now, it's good because you can focus up close on objects, but also have a really good wide-angle shot, which is a very good variety to have when you're at competition and you can't necessarily be switching lenses all the time. So this lens with a focal point of 50 is good for up-close shots or far-away shots where you want a specific depth of field. That is, that you focus on one object. The object in front of it and the objects behind it will be blurry. So it really helps when you want a snappy focus to your shot, whether it's small or large. Another lens, similar to the fixed length, but is actually a zoom lens, has a tight shot, but it varies in length. And this is helpful when you're trying to shoot on the field from the stands and you're far away, but you want a more up-close shot. This is an 80 to 200 in focal length, and it's helpful when getting the faraway shot and also with depth of field yet again. Another lens you could be using is a wide angle lens, which does not zoom in much, but it has a wide angle, so it's good for group or arena shots. In a later video, we'll expound upon what lenses work best for different situations. Within first, this is just an overview of different types of lenses to consider using. And keep in mind, the more you zoom in, the more minute nudges to the camera will be exaggerated. So basically, if you're zoomed in, per se, with this lens, and you're zoomed in all the way, the tiniest movement from the camera will appear much larger when you're watching the footage back. So in this case, it would be helpful to have some sort of stabilizer. Tripods, monopods, rigs, and other accessories are tremendously helpful when you want to get a still shot, or at least not move the camera a lot. This is incredibly helpful when on the go, because if you want to shoot a time-lapse, if you want to shoot a match without moving the camera, tripods are your only way to do that. Monopods, on the other hand, are really good if you want to have a sort of controlled but limited amount of movement with your camera work. Camera rigs are really important if you want tracking shots or movement with the camera, but controlled movement, not kind of uncontrolled movement. Similar to the other equipment, microphones come in a variety of different types. There's shotgun, lapel, wireless versus corded, handheld, built-in, and 3D or 360 microphones. Feel free to look at all those individually to figure out which one meets your needs best. But really, the best and most applicable to first oftentimes are the shotgun mic, the lapel mic, and the handheld mic. Keep in mind, audio plays a huge part in audience engagement, and no matter what the quality of your video is, you could have 4K, have the resolution be off the charts, but if the audio isn't great, if the audio is bad, it's not going to be as captivating to the listeners, and it may even turn them off from the entire video. So it's really important to get good, or at least decent audio for each of your video projects. Lights aren't always necessary in your video production, but they are if you're in a dark environment and you need something to light up the focal subject of what you're shooting. Usually, with a person, you want to be using lights to increase the quality of your shot. It helps with the focus and the definition. And in terms of accessories, they're not as important relative to good sound of a microphone or good quality from different lenses. Lights, though, are helpful when creating different qualities of shots. And if you want to raise your video production quality, lights are one step to do that. When you're filming video or recording audio, you're going to need somewhere to put the actual files that you're creating. These usually come in the form of SD cards that you put in the camera or in the microphone. But in some instances, such as this microphone, the audio is going straight from the microphone into a program on a laptop, such as Audacity. But usually you do use SD cards, especially in a competition environment within First. One last piece of storage is this. This is an external hard drive. This specific one is 4 terabytes, which is 4,000 gigabytes, which is more than enough to carry video, audio, and other files for a long time. External hard drives are important because most space on laptops or desktops are going to quickly fill up with your video files and your audio files and all of the different storage space that you need when you're editing video in your own projects and other programs. So it's important to have a big storage space to keep all those files, keep it organized. It makes for a much more enjoyable experience if you already know where to look and how to get what you need instead of having to go through everything and figure it all out as you go. And so that's all the time we have for this episode. If you have any more specific inquiries regarding equipment or other areas of video production that you would like us to touch on, feel free to leave a comment below and we'll get back to you and hopefully be able to help you out. And of course, check the description as well because there will be more tidbits and links to help you do the comparing and contrasting of different equipment of what we've talked about in this video and go into more specific detail that we couldn't in this short amount of time. So until next time, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
The traces of the chosen. Let's come together with a heart wide open.